Welcome to Decades, hosted by Chris Rubio. Decades is a show made up of 5 generations of people brought together to discuss topics you wouldn't normally talk about with others. The goal of the show is to learn by having some good, possibly heated discussions, without losing the simple fact that it's okay to talk to different people with different opinions other than your own.
What's up? My name is Chris Rubio, host of Decades. We've got a phenomenal panel. I'm looking at Nick Humble. I'm looking at Crazy Man. I'm looking at TC. I'm looking at Craig Hannum, and I'm looking at Alex on Tech Group. We might have some others. Oh, we've got Sub 68 coming in hot up in the upper left-hand corner. We've got a good show. We're going to bounce around a little bit. I've got a specific topic that I want to bring up. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about that's just, we'll bring up something real quick and just kind of bounce it off. Is Trump or is El Trumpo just trolling Canada right now? I mean, is it just really, really bad? I mean, is it because on True Social posted a picture of him with a Canadian flag, basically looking at the frontier, and he had a good line for Trudeau and all that. You want to talk about that?
He had a meeting with Trudeau a couple days ago, and Trudeau said if you levy 20% tariffs on the Canadian economy, you'll bankrupt us. And Trump looked over at him and said, well, you can become the 51st state and you can be the governor of it.
I dig it. I dig it, man.
Does anyone find it a little odd that Joey B right now is in Africa? Kamala is she's been in Hawaii for a little bit. No one's seen her since she got destroyed. And world leaders are coming to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump. Like, does anyone else look around? It's almost like that, Quentin Tarantino, John Travolta scene in Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, we're just looking around like, what's going on, man? Like, This dude is not even the president for 51 days, and no one seems to give two craps. Crazy Man, what's your thoughts on this?
It's insane how everyone is just ducking and just going right now instead of talking to our current leaders. Is that they're going right to Trump, and because he's stepping up and doing different things, trying to nominate a lot of different people for different cabinets scenarios. So. I'm a little worried about the Department of Education with Linda McMahon.
Okay, why?
Because she doesn't have any experience in the education, except for a private college that she was on the board. I mean, if you're really going to put somebody in the department or any leadership role, there should be some type of qualifications. Because as a teacher, you want to have somebody that has your back, and I'm not quite sure Linda McMahon and how Trump might think about this taking apart the Department of Education.
Okay, I would agree with you, but being the host, let me poke the bear a little bit. What about if someone said, okay, so this has been going, the Department of Education, I think it came around in like 80 or 79?
Got in 79 in the Carter administration is who passed. And then it took effect in 80 under Reagan.
But it's not exactly.
How can it get any worse?
Well, it's not been successful is what I'm trying to say. So if we've been having educators man this up, and they're the epitome of educators, and it's just gone like this over time, why wouldn't we put someone that just can flip the switch?
Well, didn't Trump say that he's going to give the education back to the states and say, hey, you guys run it how you want to? So maybe she's just going to be an administrator, like a manager, if you will.
Well, that's where, like the Department of Education, that's where we begin some of the funding for special education, some of the services and so forth that the states haven't been giving us. We've been getting a lot of the support and so forth, the money from
504s and all that jazz.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where the money's going.
Michael, welcome onto the show. What are your thoughts on the Department of Education? Keep it, blow it up, start over, do what you got to do. To me, it almost looks like a sports team. And if I see okay, we've been hiring football coaches, and they're not winning, at some point, maybe let's hire a hockey coach or something to see what the hell else can flip it around. Michael?
I'm all for a new way of approaching the Department of Education.
I'm not so sure Linda McMahon's the right person for it, though.
Mhm.
I think there's probably other people who have had some experienced education as an administrator, but aren't necessarily rose through the ranks of a teacher, a education major in college and up through where you're a teacher and then you're principal and then you're superintendent of schools and all that stuff. There are a lot of people who run for boards of education in states and later become secretaries of education in states who have never taught in a classroom. Those strike me as being the better people for it. And I think, I go back to I am a lawyer by trade who did well in constitutional law. And I've actually one of the few people who can say he actually slogged through every single one of the Federalist Papers at one point. So I actually, I know I'm a glutton for punishment, right? But I actually like the idea. I mean, and by the way, I give Mitt Romney credit. He tried to do this. He proposed this when he was running for president. You look at what worked in states. You go to a state where the Department of Education is run really well, and maybe you take that, maybe you nominate that guy or that woman who's the Secretary of Education for that state or the head of whatever the state, and you put them. That's a person with experience, and you see if it's scalable up to a national level, or you see if it's this person because they've run it in a state knows what a state can do better than the federal government and where the federal government's help is really needed. And they can flip over to the federal side now and implement it from that angle. That's what I would do. But Linda McMahon doesn't have any of that. So I just don't. I mean, as the token progressive on the panel today, and I don't know if anybody else is, I will say that I think some of his picks for these high cabinet positions that maybe are destined to never be approved by Congress are sort of classic Trump, fuck you to the establishment picks to get the headline and all the clips of her smacking people in the ring and all that stuff on TV to seize the spotlight on that cycle again. He loves to do that. It's part of his brand. It's part of why he's successful, right? It's there's two things he likes to do: win and make the other guy lose. And if the libs are getting angry, he's happy as can be. And Linda McMahon strikes me as one of those FU nominations where, if you really thought about it, she'll never get approved, but she's fun to do as a first round, so that the next person he approves, no matter how mediocre they are, will seem better. That might be part of the strategy there. You never know.
That's a solid take. Gru, you've been waiting patiently. Go ahead.
Well, I want to say something about Trudeau and Canada, angle. It was one of those cartoon movies from the 90s where somebody went into the future and then basically said, hey, where are you from? And he goes, I'm from Canada. And somebody said, hey, do you mean like North Montana? As far as Canada being a 51st state, of the Union, okay? So, it might as well happen.
I'm okay with that. TC, what's your thoughts on the education?
Well, I mean, I kind of said it earlier. I think it got lost in the muddle, but I don't think she can do any worse than anybody else has over the last few years. And that's like Rubio says, that's kind of like saying you're the tallest midget. It doesn't really, they haven't done a whole lot to bring it forward. So why not, like Mike said, why not shake it up a little bit? You can't do too much worse. So I mean, she has I guess been the assistant CFO of one of the largest entertainment companies in the world. So I mean, she's got some leadership and some management experience. Let's think outside the box.
Right. My gut is I'd rather than look and see who can do not much worse. Let's try to find somebody with a track record of success. I just think that, in this field, running a Department of Education, and there's 50 states, somebody's got to be doing it better than somebody else.
Why shouldn't we do that for president?
I don't disagree that governors are a much better pool to pick for presidential candidates than senators and congressmen and TV reality star hosts. I completely agree with you. And bankrupt businessmen. I completely agree with you that is
former first ladies.
Former first lady. Look. I mean, Reagan was a governor. Say what you want about him. Clinton was a governor. Say what you want about him. You know, Jimmy Carter was a governor. Say what you want about. We've had a lot of governors who have been presidents, and I you know, and a lot that have not been able to. And I'd go back to that in a heartbeat.
So,
Well,
60, what are you?
I wouldn't want to.
I want to address. I want to address. Hold on, I need to address Terry's comment about being the tallest sub 60 in the room. Hold on, there's stuff in the percentage.
I was waiting for it, man.
I did not write that. That came from that man.
I'm just saying, man. That's you're lucky. I like you, man.
Well, it would be no different than Gru. I don't even know what kind of hair Umble has. Gru and Hannum have the most hair of everyone on the panel. That's really not saying a lot.
No,
Not at all.
no, true. I just said, come on and bust Terry's balls.
That's a nice head of hair you got there, Nick. Very, very nice, man. Very
I
full
wanted
and
to talk
wavy.
one more about one of the picks that El Trumpo picked. Kash Patel. Kash Patel. I mean, he's got a history of F you to the FBI. I mean, he's basically said the Epstein list, open it up. Diddy list, open it up. JFK, let's see what happened. I mean, he's coming.
The FBI, man.
He has literally no qualms about being that guy, which I respect. Hannum, you're very into him, is what I'm gathering.
Oh yeah. He's gonna purge the FBI and all the dumb shit they've been doing.
Okay. Umble, what's your thoughts?
I think the guy's a rock star, man. He has background, you know, like Mike's a big background guy, and I'm a background guy too. I think that he's done a very good job as an attorney. He was a prosecutor for a while. He did a good job there. I have no problem with what he's talking about doing. This is my whole thing. We all know the whole thing is corrupt up there in the Capitol, and it doesn't matter what side you're on. Mitch McConnell's wife is Chinese. He gets most of his money from her Chinese companies. Dianne Feinstein had a driver for 6 years that was a Chinese national, and Eric Swalwell was sleeping with a fucking Chinese spy. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's corrupt on both sides, right? Yes. What I want to see is I want to see Kash come in and start opening that can of worms up and saying, hey, listen, this is what we've been dealing with for the last 30 to 40 years. This is Bush. Bush is just as goddamn corrupt as the rest of them, right? Yeah. I love Reagan. I'm a Reagan guy. I've been a Reagan guy. I've studied Reagan. I think Reagan is an awesome president. But let's be fucking honest. Oliver North saved that dude's presidency. And when Iran-Contra happened, because the CIA overstepped their fucking bounds and said that a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps funneled guns to a country, took the money in his personal accounts and funded it to the Contras in fucking Honduras. Because Reagan was told he couldn't do it. And he did it anyway. And then Oliver North took the fall for it, and that guy became famous for it. Right? And I'm not saying right or wrong, indifferent, that's corruption. And it needs to come out.
Christopher Ortega says, Ruby, your face. I've just noticed something, and I don't know if I was making a face while doing it. Everyone knows I love when Groove gets passionate because his accent gets thicker. Has anyone noticed when Umble gets passionate? He starts talking so long that he forgets to take a breath.
Right.
Well, I think he could probably hold his breath for about 4.5 minutes. So
I found a lot of and I liked it. Michael, what do you think about Kash Patel?
Look, I am a firm believer. I actually think every president, when they come in, should put someone in charge of these major departments to immediately address perceived problems with them, whether they're public perceptions or actual administrative perceptions. And he does seem to have a little bit more experience than some of Trump's other nominations. So I'm willing to give the guy a chance. That being said, my general feeling about this, and I find it to be true in corporations and big any big organization, whether it's the federal government or a corporation or whatever, is new people always come in and say, I'm going to completely overturn the apple cart and start over, right? And what they find very quickly is that's a much harder thing to do than you think, when the day-to-day blocking and tackling still has to be done. The FBI have cases going on that still need to be investigated. You can't just take all of those agents and fire them. You've invested way too many tax dollars in certain investigations. And by and large, most FBI agents, and I live in Bethesda, Maryland. I know a few. I know people who've worked for the FBI their whole lives. I know people whose parents were involved in the FBI for internal affairs. The most hated FBI agent you could be, a guy who busts other crooked FBI agents, right? And a lot of these people are absolute patriots doing the best they can. So you can come in and you can retool the management, but it's I think what Donald Trump is going to find, and I think he found it to be true in 2017, is it's harder than you think to take something like our federal government and just completely revamp it. That being said, I am a firm believer in the new guy should kick every tire he comes across, figure out what's going on, and if there's corruption, root it out. Absolutely. But Congress has got to participate with that too, because you're going to find that some people's jobs are protected by some congressional act, or some funding can't go away because of something. There was a 10-year funding omnibus, and it isn't just that easy to just cancel everything. So you're going to have to get cooperation from Congress. And I just feel like the biggest problem we have in our country right now is these congressional guys who are, this is why I'm a term limits guy. They're just embedded. They're embedded, and the checks they get every 2 years or every 6 years to run again are from special interests who are vested in no change at all.
Yeah.
Rubio, can I take Mike down a rabbit hole?
Sure.
Let it rain, Humble.
So I hear you guys talk term limits. This is my problem. And I don't have the best solution,
right.
But I had a buddy of mine. We had this conversation years ago when I was in the UAE, and his argument really stuck with me. I was a term limits guy up to that point, and he was like, "What the fuck does term limits do? All we do is rotate these dudes every 4 to 6 years." Then, and he goes, "Why not de-incentivize it? Like, you pass the ACA, that's your healthcare from here on out.
Yeah,
you pass no guns in DC, you can't have them.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm a firm believer that congressmen and senators and presidents and all those people don't get special bennies. If this is the federal program, this is the federal program. Absolutely. I actually get really pissed off, frankly, when I hear that elected officials send their kids to private schools if they're proponents of the state education system. They give speech after speech after speech about having the best schools in Montgomery County, Maryland. I live in
they all go to private school.
Right. I live in a county with really good public schools. I have no complaints about the public schools in Montgomery County, Maryland. We have some of the best schools nationally ranked every year. We pay a little bit more taxes for it. It's money I'm happy to pay. But I can't stand it when the senators and congressmen come along, send their kids to and I'm a product of local Catholic schools. I grew up going to local Catholic schools. I send my kids to probably public schools because they're so fucking good here. But I would never, pardon my French, I don't like it when the local guy sends his kids off to private school. It sends the wrong message. How are you voting on? How are you picking people to run the public schools if you have nothing vested in it yourself? Same with the health care. Absolutely same with the health care. I'm with you on that. Congress has its own special little plan. It's nonsense. It's bullshit.
Is Mike? Mike, are you conservative or not? I'm confused at this point. I feel like you're more conservative than.
No, I'm not.
I thought it was Rob Reiner when he first came on.
I'm right. I also get Jeffrey Tambor. Sometimes I also get Jeffrey Tambor. No, look, when it comes to holding elected officials accountable, I'm all for it, which is why some of my positions on Trump might be unpopular with this panel, but that's fine. I understand that.
That's okay.
But, it's just like
it's all right. We like it spicy.
I'm a firm believer that you should hold these guys accountable. And look, do I think it was like, for example, right? And I'll give an example here. I don't want to change the subject, but I'll give an example. Did I think it was completely hokey that after Biden said 1,000,000 times he wasn't going to pardon Hunter, he pardoned Hunter? Yes, I think that was hokey. Is the president allowed to pardon anybody he fucking wants? Sure he is. Absolutely he is. And if anybody who criticizes Biden for pardoning Hunter is going to turn around and give Trump applause for pardoning January 6th insurrectionists or any of that stuff, look, you pardon who you pardon. You're the president. You get to do it. I get it.
I think the whole problem with that, and when I saw that, it was one of those, as soon as you have your own child, like I said on my show with Hannum not an hour ago, I have 3 boys. They could shoot someone in the face right now. And if I was a president, I'd be like, yeah, they're getting pardoned. I'm sorry. I'm president. This is literally what I can do. And I'm going to do it because I love my kids. On that note, it's a little iffy when my kid is 54 years old. That's no longer a kid. That's a grown ass man. And then number 2,
I think you'd probably still do it though.
Well,
I
you
know
know,
I
I
would.
still would. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of an ass. If my kid was a crackhead, having kids with strippers and shit, I would probably at 54, I probably wouldn't, to be honest. But that's neither here nor there. And then the second part, how the pardon went all the way back to January 1, 2014, right when the whole Ukraine Burisma thing. That's where it's like you got to look at it. It doesn't pass the smell test at all.
Yeah, but a lot of the presidential pardons for people they know personally don't pass the smell test. I mean, a lot of them don't. No one just really pays much attention to them because the guy's on their way out and the new president's coming in and it's an inauguration and no one really. I mean, like, I don't think I've ever read an article explaining any president has pardoned completely. This Hunter Biden thing, it's been so in the forefront and everybody was ready to pounce on it. But I guess my point is just, look, I can almost promise you that Trump's going to pardon people that will make you scratch your head and wonder why he pardoned them, because he's Trump, and that's how he operates.
Go ahead, TC.
Well, I is just by a show of hands, is anybody surprised that he pardoned Hunter?
No.
No.
Hold on, you're on mute. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Terry, we can't hear you. TC, we cannot hear you. TC, no hear. Anyway, we cannot hear you. Yeah, there. Thank you, Humble. Back to what he was saying. Does anyone else have concerns of what, or not concerns? Why did he do it now instead of like as you're going out the door, like what every other president does, where they're just signing a billion, pardons? Why do it now? That's the one I can't figure out.
I'm not sure. Was there a sentencing coming up or something? Was it a timing? Because I don't know. I haven't paid enough attention.
I don't think so.
Hey, everyone here knows that fucking Joe is not in the greatest health, man.
Yeah, it may be that he pardoned because
let's knock this shit out in case I fucking die tomorrow. Let's be honest. He's not in great health.
No, not at all.
Go ahead, Groot.
I've heard that whole pardon of Hunter was influenced by Jill Biden. It was somebody's opinion today on the radio, basically. It was pushed by her, to do it like ASAP.
It still seems weird. I mean, I see the humble take. Maybe there is a sentencing thing, like Michael says. I mean, this guy could slip on a banana peel. He's got one foot in the grave and the other in a banana peel right now. So it's one of those where it's kind of hard to look at it and understand what's going on. Crazy man, what are your thoughts?
I mean, if the public wants to look at us going the 1%, I mean, you're looking at politicians are the 1%. So they make the rules as they go. So no, I wasn't surprised, but it, like Humble said, Joe's has 1 foot in the grave, one on the banana peel. I mean, where is the rest of about the checks and balances on being upfront with the American people? The Democrats also been talking that big game on being transparent. Joe's been saying from day one that he wouldn't do anything to help his son. Then all of a sudden, he comes up this past week going being pardoned. So,
and that just made everyone, his press secretary, everyone that is on that side look stupid, because everyone, if you have a child, everyone looked and says, "Of course he's going to pardon him. This is stupid. Like, well, you'd be a terrible human being if you didn't pardon him." But the whole fact of, well, I'm not pardoning him, not pardon him, not pardon him, not pardon him, and there's hours and hours of footage of it. It's like, dude, you should have just said no comment, or yeah, I'm going to pardon him. He's my kid. What are you going to do about it? Literally nothing.
And what I keep coming back to is that in the grand scheme of all the problems our country has, Hunter Biden being pardoned by Joe Biden after Joe Biden said he wasn't going to pardon him is, if at its worst, an indictment on Joe Biden's character. Mm-hmm. And I am someone who says if you vote for Trump over Biden, if that was the election, you sort of waive the character argument in either direction, because, you can talk all you want about how maybe you don't like Joe Biden's character. He's not trustworthy. He does things for his family and all that stuff. But everything you say in that regard is going to be true about Trump too. So it's
the Bushes were like that.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like a lot of people were like,
Clinton
that.
was like that.
Yeah, a lot of
We've
people
never had a moral person in fucking office for 40 years.
Well, yeah, we haven't had somebody who wasn't a little bit in it for themselves for sure, right? I mean, I might argue that I didn't see a lot of it with Obama, but then
Oh yeah, don't do that here. These guys are attacking.
but this is maybe the wrong group to argue that.
Yeah.
But
Michael, you can argue anything you want. We love to argue. It excites me. TC, are you back?
I am back.
There it is.
Okay. Someone's got a background radio going or something. Nothing? I thought I heard something. TC, what were you saying before you cut off?
Well, I was saying that Biden is actually tied for last place with the least amount of pardons issued. And I just thought that was fascinating, but maybe he forgot that he could. But the other thing I was going to say is anybody really surprised that he pardoned Hunter?
No.
Not at all.
Did he pardon him with the turkeys at Thanksgiving?
No, it was the day after, 2 days after. Yeah, he did it Sunday night on a media dump at like 8 p.m. Eastern, which is, Sunday night, Thanksgiving holiday. No one's watching, doing anything. You just passed out from food / watching some college football or NFL football.
I had I sent a link to Ed that had the list of all of the different presidents and how many they had pardoned. And actually FDR was number one. Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Nice.
I suspect in the next month you'll see Biden grow his list because he's on his way out. Like a lot of them do it in the last couple of weeks, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised if that list grows.
Yeah, I think he's already come out and said it's going to start firing off. He's the president, or
right?
He's in office. He can do what he wants.
If we agreed with his pardons, we wouldn't have a problem with it.
I wonder if every time Donald Trump says over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go after that guy, and I'm going to go after that guy, and I'm going to go after that guy, which is the kind of thing he likes to say, Biden's not going to start adding more and more names to his pardon list because Trump's not exactly hiding who he doesn't like. This is exactly the kind of political gamesmanship you see in third world countries, right? The people try to throw in jail the other side.
Well, okay, so Saddam Hussein came into power. He filled up an auditorium with a bunch of people he didn't like, and they were taking him out in the back and shooting him in the back of the head. And they kept doing it until one guy finally said, "Hail Saddam, hail Saddam." You know,
we are not any different in this fucking country. You guys are lost.
Except we don't kill them.
We just do it under the fucking radar and we lock them up for life. We throw away the fucking key and we put them in a federal prison.
Oh,
so
we are. I'm not disagreeing with you that it happens. It shouldn't, but I'm not disagreeing with you that it happens.
Okay, so let's flip it. So let's flip it now. So, what are your guys' thoughts on El Trumpo comes in day one, and every January 6th prisoner he says, "Boom, you're pardoned." What's your thoughts on that, Gru?
I think it's fine. I mean, if Biden can pardon Hunter, why not? Pardon all those folks. Okay. Why not? Just the hell of it,
I got you, Mike.
If I'm going to make the counter argument, it would be this, right? Is that I think Biden can say with a straight face that the actual crimes Hunter Biden's being charged with right now are things like violation of a parole, and it's a lower level crime than some of the crimes the guys who stormed Capitol Hill are considerably lower level than, violation of parole is one thing, interfering with the constitutional powers is another. And I think that it's fair to say that to pardon all of those people for that would suggest not just a normal exercise of political pardon by a president, but a certain disregard for the functioning of the Constitution and the rule of law. I mean, I'm sure some people could disagree with me on what I'm about to say, but I really saw that whole thing as one of the most unpatriotic moves I've ever seen. People taking an election that was being certified by Congress and trying to stop it from happening with force. And we can argue all day long whether it was meant to be a peaceful protest that got out of hand or whether there were actually people planning things and showing up in riot gear who had gone through the Capitol the day before on tours and we're noticing exits and we're trying to actually plan something. We can argue the facts all day long, but if they're found guilty of actually trying to stop Congress from carrying out its duties, I think that rises to a level higher than anything Hunter Biden's done.
It's not the matter that he's on parole. It's why was he on parole? We act like he violated parole, though that's not a big deal. But he did something to get on patrol too.
I thought it was possession of a handgun when he was still on parole was the problem. Was what he was actually going to jail for.
Why was he on parole?
Well, because he'd committed crimes, he'd been found guilty, and he'd been put on parole. Like anybody in America who's committed a crime, does whatever, gets put on parole. I mean, I'm not going to second guess those judges and those administrative judges who put him on parole or his parole officer. He was a recovering addict. Those people have done horrible things. I'm willing to give them a second chance. I'm willing to put them on parole. And if they violate parole, that's a crime, and the president gets to pardon it. I'm not saying it's not a crime. I'm just saying it's a much lesser crime in my mind than storming the Capitol, killing a bunch of Capitol police officers, and shitting on people's desks.
How many were killed?
Capitol police officers killed.
How many people died that day? 6, 7? I forget the numbers.
One.
Ashley. There's one lady. One woman was shot.
Babbitt. If you could look it up, Ashley Babbitt was the only person that was killed. She was killed by that.
All right. So how many men in blue were assaulted that day?
Assaulted.
We could go to a protest the entire fucking summer where cops were bad the shit beat out of them by protesters.
And I didn't say I was okay with that either. I'm saying how many men in blue were injured on the day of January 6th trying to defend our U.S. Capitol from an angry mob?
That's a very good question, and I would say anyone. Sub 60 says, check your stuff. Someone has a phone beeping, so put your phone on do not disturb. Sub 60 is getting fired up back there. What's it called? What was I talking about?
People getting men in blue getting injured on January 6th.
Men in blue getting injured and all that. I mean, you could look at that, and I would agree with you 1,000%. If anyone's out there beating the hell out of a cop trying to get into the building, yes, arrest them.
I'll show you the video footage.
Yeah, you can see video footage
out there.
But then there's also the one where you have, like, say, Ray Epps, who's literally saying, let's go into the Capitol, go into the Capitol, go into the Capitol over and over and over the night before and during the day, and nothing's happened to him. And it's like, this is the one guy, he's not petite, he's like the size of Humble, and you can see it, and it's like, why is this guy not being thrown under the prison? Like, I don't understand. There's just too many loose ends, and you see too many people, like, they're going through the guarded tour. I mean, I've done that tour before, and I've done that exact same route where, like, oh, they're following the red ropes. And I think it was Jon Stewart said, I love how the insurrectionists followed the red rope tour.
Right. Oh, yeah. It definitely was a strange event that built and built and built. No question. And it depended on which side of the Capitol and which doors. I mean, I've read all the reports on it. I've studied pretty carefully. I don't know why Ray Epps hasn't been prosecuted. Maybe they're building a case against him. I hope they are. And maybe these guys are being careful and they're not going to prosecute until they have all the evidence they want. But I also know that, the FBI agents who were investigating it were saying they've got chat boards out there where people were talking about, hey, if you need a ride to the Capitol and you don't want to bring your weapon check your weapon on a plane, there are guys driving through Ohio done the 2 days before and they could pick you up. And these people were planning on being there in pretty organized fashion. And a lot of them were bringing riot gear and weapons. So my point is simply this. Again, I think if he pardons the people who are found guilty of that level of anti-patriotic behavior, it rises to a higher level than a guy violating his parole.
Okay, Humble, go ahead.
That's what I don't understand. It's been 4 years, and we still beat January 6th to fucking death. To death. Yeah. We beat that like, oh, man, it was so horrible. Fuck, man. Well, all the statues and shit that got fucking burned to the ground for an entire summer with riots. No one talks about that shit. Oh, no. This was because Trump, January 6th. It's bullshit. It was a fucking riot that happened. Guess what? There's 100 fucking riots that happen every year in this country.
So this is what
happened constantly. We burn cars, billions of dollars in damage in Minnesota. Minneapolis was burned to the fucking ground. People lost their lives.
But
and what did you
talk about any of that? Did you hear me say
any of that stuff? No, I heard you. But what I don't hear is we never talk about that stuff. We only talk about Trump and January 6th. Everyone's still fucking stuck on January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. Oh, it was an insurrection. You fuckers haven't seen insurrection.
But that was
You want
that
to see an insurrection? I went to war in 3 different fucking countries, and I'm telling you, I've seen insurrections in countries. That was not an insurrection, my friend. But what pisses me off is we continue to harp on January 6th. Why? Right. It's fucking done. It's over with. Who cares if he pardons the shit out of those people?
Well,
Guess what?
I mean, I do. I'd also be angry if a Democratic president pardoned the shit out of people who rooped and raped and pillaged during Minnesota. I'd be mad at that too.
Dude, your vice president paid for the bail of fucking over 1,000 members of BLM who raped and pillaged fucking Minneapolis.
Well, wait.
Those are facts.
I'm pretty sure the people she paid bail for were arrested for protesting. The people who were arrested for looting and actual violent crimes, I do not believe that's true. They're not it's not a monolith.
Still paid to get bail for people that were caught up in those protests.
Right. And listen, most
it's always about January 6th.
No, I'm not saying
from that day.
Nick, I'm not saying everyone who was on the mall on January 6th should go to jail. Just like I'm not saying everybody who's protesting for Black Lives Matter or some racial inequality march should go to jail. I'm saying the bad behaviors should go to jail. This is what happens a lot of times when you have a big protest. And I agree with you. It's bullshit. There's always bad actors in there. They commit crimes. They should go to jail. Whether there's some guy looting and raping during a Black Lives Matter protest or some January 6th there. But the guys who are just marching around holding signs, exercising their First Amendment rights, they shouldn't go to jail. And I'm pretty sure if you look into the facts about who she posted bail for, it was those people. Not the people who are punching cops, burning buildings, or stealing flat screen TVs.
The whole
you can't treat it like a monolith. I'm not treating the January 6th marchers like a monolith. I'm saying the people who have been convicted of crimes for entering the Capitol in force are criminals. Not the guys waving Confederate flags out on the mall. They've got a right to do that. Just like the people who have waving Black Lives Matter flags have a right to do that. But the minute you break into the front door of Macy's or the front door of the Capitol building, you've crossed a line.
That used to be, you're right. I agree. And that used to be a line in this country that was acceptable. But we've gone away from that because what we do is we pardon one side, but not the other. Crime is bad in San Francisco. So now you can steal up to $1,000 before we take you to jail.
And that's crazy too. I agree with you.
We got 20 million people that come across the border. Let's name another country that will allow you to just come into their country and they will give you the stuff we give you. We don't. That doesn't happen. You can't do it. As a sovereign nation, it can't continually happen. But yet, this is what I'm talking about. We have a 2-tier justice system. You got somebody like Hillary Clinton and all the shady shit that she did.
Right.
What happened? Nothing. You got the January 6th committee. They decided to delete a whole bunch of evidence. What happened to Liz Cheney? She's hailed as a fucking saint. But yet her dad owns not Northrop Grumman. What the fuck is it?
Halliburton. Halliburton.
Yeah, right. Halliburton. He owns Halliburton. When I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, and TC, I don't know if you went to either Iraq or Afghanistan when you were in the Air Force, but every fucking contract was either owned by Halliburton or it was a subcontract to Halliburton. Halliburton made billions of dollars. That is corruption at its finest. But we don't want to talk about that. All we ever harp on is January 6th. Let's talk about the 2-tier justice system, how all this other shit is going on in the scene, and no one wants to talk about it.
I'd love to talk about war crimes Dick Cheney's committed. Absolutely.
I fucking hate that guy.
I'd love to talk about it.
Mike, we would get along. We would have some beers together.
I'll talk about that all day long. Absolutely.
Nick, I love you, man.
And I live close to you, Mike. I might have to drive down and see you. I'll buy the first round.
There you go.
Here's the twist with the pardon, right? And Chris and I were talking about this on the Rubio Method an hour ago, that a pardon is like in the military, you get an Article 15 and you don't get the punishment, right? So the commander suspends it. You still got an Article 15. It's still on your freaking record. You broke the law. You have to be in the act of committing a crime to get pardoned. And it has to be a crime against the United States. So I can't wait for the senators to put a panel together and bring in Hunter Biden and say, hey, by the way, since you got pardoned, your Fifth Amendment rights don't apply right now, pal. Let's talk about 2014. What did you do then?
Right.
You know,
and they may do that, or they may decide to just let it rest. Who knows? But I thought that pardon was hokey. I said that at the very beginning. I mean, I understand as a father why he'd do it, and I'm not surprised he did. I thought the hokiest part about it was I don't know why he said for months he wouldn't pardon him. I think that was hokey to say. I think no one really believed him. And I think it did a lot to besmirch his character if you thought he was an honorable guy, which I know a lot of people here maybe don't. But, my whole point at the very beginning was I think if your issue is character and you're pro-Trump, you're being a hypocrite because that guy's got no character either.
I would say it's a different type of character, more of a character.
Yeah.
So to speak. I wanted to do this one question, unless anyone else has got something pressing they want to talk about, but I wanted to do this one question. I wanted to do it when we had Tony and Pete on the show, but they're both busy right now. Mike, I'm going to actually start with you because you're, let's say, our most progressive, as you say. The question is, one thing, like you're sitting with Humble, you're having beers in West Virginia or wherever you two are, okay? And Mike, you're going to ask him, you're going to say, one thing I simply cannot grasp about your political party is blank, and I really wish you could just explain it to me. Like one thing, maybe it's, how could you ever like someone that's such an ass as El Trumpo or, whatever? Because I know everyone has their own opinion and thoughts on this, but I just wanted to start with Mike. And I don't want it to be just a firing range on Mike because he's the only quote unquote more progressive on the panel tonight.
I thought about this. There's a lot of different things. I thought about this when I saw the prompt, I guess on Monday or whenever I had sent it out. And there's a couple I have, but I don't know which one I landed on. I think we've touched on some of it a little bit today. What I am still boggled by, because and maybe it's Trump specific, but I don't always think it's Trump specific. Is I just feel like, and it goes to some of our conversations about the hypocrisy and corruption of various politicians. Is I am just boggled by the number of Republicans who spout off about family values and the need for a nuclear family and the need for a Christian family and the need for a loving family. And then the guys who are talking are on their third wife, their second mistress, that, then they're caught in, with a wide stance in a men's room or who knows what the fuck they're doing. And they just seem to keep getting elected. I don't understand why the party of family values can't find someone who walks the walk and talks the talk. I mean, the last guy I remember thinking of the Republicans who actually probably lived it was Mitt Romney, who struck me as being a real honorable family guy and a man of faith. And so many of these guys, and Trump is the best example. I mean, he's not only is it more or less been proven that he's cheated on his wives, he seems fucking proud of it. And just, hey, look at this one. She's hotter than the last one. And his attitude towards it is just the most toxic kind of disingenuous masculinity there is. And I don't understand why the evangelicals line up behind him and the religious people line up behind him and the pro-family people line up behind him, because he just seems like so not the guy I'd want my kids hanging out at his house after school. I don't get that.
Okay, that's a good one. I like that one.
By the way, and I don't think being pro-life is enough to be suddenly a family guy. Like, it can't just be that, right?
No, I get you. Who's getting messages?
Not me.
Not me.
Maybe
maybe it's sub 60 Ed.
Does Ed think I'm swearing and he's bleeping?
No, it's not me. That's why I'm sitting here trying to figure out where it's coming from.
Why don't use that gay ass message tone so it ain't fucking me?
It's probably Nick. I'm guessing it's the CIA or the FBI tapping our.
Exactly.
Because they haven't figured out it's publicly available. They don't have to tap it.
Okay, so Michael, that was actually a really good question. Like, okay, you guys are all about, family values, blah, 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 blah. But then how can you, with good conscience, go behind someone that's been married 3 times, who's, he's an adulterer, he's doing this, blah, blah, blah. So let's lean on that one just to start. Crosby, I'm going to start with you.
I think that problem is we're putting
Hold on.
Hold on.
Your Wi-Fi is terrible right now.
What am I?
You got
Connection bad.
to or turn it off or something. Hannah, I'll start with you.
Based on that sentence, I would say that that the Democrats will die on the Hill just to prove that they'll stick to something. You know, whether it be a lie, whatever. They will die on that freaking Hill. Like when Nick said the other 2-3 weeks ago.
No. We're not coming on yours yet. I want you to try to answer Michael.
One more time.
I want you to try to answer Michael. Michael's question to the panel. We're all sitting around having beers with Humble, and Michael just says, "I don't understand about your party is how you guys can back someone who you guys are all about family values and Christianity and blah blah blah, and this guy's a jackass. How can you stand behind this guy if you have all these family values and religious and all that?" So that I want you guys to try to fight that or answer that.
Well,
I mean, I can do it, but I'm just the host.
Well, you don't. How do I say this? You necessarily have to have family values to run a country. You know, I don't know. It's like the lady that's going to take over the education department. Maybe she's got no experience, but maybe she's a great leader. You know, bring somebody new in there. I just don't know. I mean, if you're ethical, I'd rather somebody be patriotic and ethical. You know,
okay, Drew?
Well, I think the alternative, for example, between Trump and Kamala Harris, she's not entirely a lady who was like not unfaithful or cheated. You know, he was trying to get with a guy who was married at the time, and that's how her career was started. You know, if we are picking and choosing, I knew how it was under Trump back in 2016. From 2016 to 2020, I would still choose Trump versus Kamala.
Something else, and you need to hold to
Humble, we can hear you. Or not, Hannah, put yourself on mute if you're going to be talking. There you go. Crazy man, go.
I think, unfortunately, our society is everyone jumps into bed with everyone. It's almost a common norm. So that, unfortunately, as I forget who was saying that, our morals or ethics has been lost for the last 30, 40 years. I mean, you didn't hear this when you're growing up or going through the 80s and 70s, listening to that in the newscast and so forth. I think, unfortunately, it's falls in deaf ear. Everybody jumps into bed when it's not going right, or if somebody else, like Mike said, is more beautiful. I found the next model up. I moved up. I mean, that's how our society is right now. Unfortunately, that has led from the top to the bottom on why our country's 50% in the divorce rate.
How would you answer Mike?
I got nothing, man. I got nothing. I've been married 3 times. I got a daughter with my first wife. I haven't talked to my second wife in well over a decade since I divorced her ass. I've been married currently 9 years. I got nothing, man. Mine was probably because I spent 20 years in the Army and over, 16 years as special operator, and I was never home, and fucking that was my life, and I didn't give a shit about anything else. And so I can't jump on that train, right? Because I'd be a hypocrite.
I'm not throwing stones at people who have multiple spouses. Like, divorce is absolutely the right answer for a lot of people when the relationship falls apart. My point was more towards the party that preaches a certain kind of lifestyle and then exhibits a different kind of lifestyle with the dishonesty and the cheating on your spouse and stuff like that. You can have as many wives as you want. If you're going to preach about family values, don't be an adulterer. That's sort of my point. Like,
don't be hypocritical about it.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Let's try Crosby one more time.
Yeah, well, I guess my point is he may be a jackass, but he's our jackass. Until somebody better comes along, work for him.
Well, I'll cut off Crosby because he's glitching out like keyboard again. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. This is going to be officially the last presidency or any elected official where they haven't been growing up through the social media age, where they're going to have a history of something. Okay, they're going to have something they've done with the history of cell phones nowadays. I mean, I think all of us are old enough that we did not go through middle school and or high school or even college, most of us, with a video camera in our pocket.
Nope.
I can do that. I did a lot of stuff that was probably not kosher. It probably, if I had my buddy's video cameras next to me in college, it probably wouldn't have been a good situation. But you're no longer going to have any elected officials that are going to be that hidden the entire time. And honestly, if you've got no record at all, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're, I mean, I get the whole Eagle Scout thing, but if you're clean from age 0 all through 25, 26, 27, I almost feel like you're, they call them in baseball, a fence hanger, like the preacher's daughter. Like at some point you're going to get loose, and then all hell breaks loose. And it's like, you got to kind of sew a little bit. Am I wrong here, guys? Or
No, you're right. You're right.
For those of you who remember the I never inhaled, I don't think I'd vote. I don't think I'd ever vote for a candidate at this point in my life who claimed they never tried marijuana, because anybody who's never tried marijuana is so out of touch with what's going on in this country. Like once when they're teen years or whatever, that it just they're either being blatantly dishonest or they're completely out of touch. Like I don't get it. That's kind of stuff.
I've never had a drink of my entire life. Through college, I never had drinks. Like, come on, guys. Dave Wilcox says, we live in the age of misinformation on every side of any argument. 100%. And
I know guys that have never drank. I know guys that have never drank, like never touched liquor to their lips.
I have a friend who never drank, but it's because both of his parents were debilitated alcoholics and abusive alcoholics.
I'll let that slide.
There's a story behind that, right? That you gotta sort of honor that. Yep.
But I mean, I'm assuming these guys have other say vices, Humble, where like they're still not.
No, Tim doesn't. Tim doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do any of that, man.
Does he cuss?
No.
Oh, wow.
Nope. I've known Tim for almost a decade now, man. And he does. I know for a fact he's never touched liquor to his mouth. I got a buddy I went to high school with. He doesn't drink or smoke. His dad was a fucking abusive alcoholic. And his brother never did either. And then one night a bunch of guys convinced him to take a drink, and now he's a debilitated fucking alcoholic and an abusive asshole. And so his younger brother, who I went to school with, is like, yeah, no, fuck that.
Yeah, there's
you're right. There's a story behind that. I only know one guy. I know 10 or 12 guys that refuse to drink and have never drank in their life, but they have other vices.
Yeah.
But Tim, my buddy, that guy, no drink, no smoke, no cuss. Like he's been like that his whole life.
Okay, so let's end the show on a high note here. Nick and Michael are going to have some drinks, doing whatever they're doing. And we're all going to come to the party unannounced, blah, blah, blah. I want everyone to tell me what their appetizer and drink order is. Go. Craig Han, I'm starting with you. Go.
Yo, man, my favorite appetizer probably here in the Valley is the deep fried mushrooms over at Station 13. Very good.
Okay. What drink?
Heavy Bison. Right now I'm drinking a Bitburger. I love the German beer, man.
Terrible. Crazy man.
Wings and scotch.
What flavor wings?
Barbecue. Korean. Bone out.
That's a chicken nugget. You're literally eating a chicken tender.
That's a chicken nugget.
You're a child. You're eating a chicken tender.
Is it really
the kindest
spicy,
thing
or
that you
is it
said
just-
to me? Korean.
Oh, shit.
Go ahead.
Hey, I have to have something to eat while I'm running, and I don't have to throw the bones out. Come on.
Okay. Group.
I would say chicken wings and a beer.
Just any beer?
Any beer, any cold one. I mean, except Bud Light, Coors Light, or Miller Light. Okay, those three are out.
Okay, don't get fired up, Gru. Sub 60?
Probably going with hot wings and whatever IPA they have on tap.
What flavor hot wings? Bone in or bone out?
Oh, bone in. Yeah, real wings, not nuggets. I said wings.
Sub 60, mark my words. If you and I ever go and have an appetizer, I'm going to get one of those carnival turkey legs and bring them out to you and say, this is your chicken wing.
Oh, shit.
And I'll be like, and I'll just start crying right there and get all the sympathy. And this man's so mean to
What's your
me.
drink, Sub 60 Ed?
Whatever cold IPA they have on tap. Oh, you
I'm
don't
like-
know anything.
Bourbon and 7-Up for a drink, and chicken wings. Mild barbecue. Mild buffalo, because I can't do anything hot, man. I can't do it.
Mild.
Bone in or bone out.
I can't do hot shit, man.
Bone in or
Mike.
bone out.
Yeah, it's because you fart razor blades if it's too hot. I'm with Nick. No.
Bro,
I
I can't do it. I'm never gonna do it.
Bone in or bone out?
Bone in.
Okay.
I'll eat both. It doesn't matter. You order one or the other, I'll eat it.
Humble, you're 350 pounds. We know you'll eat both. Michael.
Fried jalapeno poppers for my appetizer. I like something spicy, and I'm not afraid of cheese. And is it winter or summer? If it's winter, I'm probably drinking Guinness. If it's summer, I'm probably drinking something like an orange crusher or margarita rock salt.
Okay, so as a big guy, Michael just pulled the ultimate power move, and you guys didn't even realize it. He just listened to every single person say they're farting razor blades because they can't take any spice. What if they come in and order the spiciest thing on the menu?
The juice has got to be worth the squeeze, man. You got to go for it.
What a great move, because no one's taking your appetizer.
Oh, you got to go.
Oh, you guys can't do spicy? I'll take the ultra spicy jalapeno poppers.
I'm gonna get a big enough plate and offer. Anybody want any of these? Go ahead and take them and watch all you guys cower away from them because it's too spicy for you.
What a great move! What a great move! That's a move that I would do.
Hey Rubio, what are you gonna have?
I'm getting
have poutine and a rosé wine.
Taste buds.
Maybe a wine for you.
Solid appetizer. It's hard to beat like a really, really good mozzarella stick, but also like a patty like mozzarella, but then also, and this is very specific, like maybe some sort of like garlic cheese bread that I could dip into some red sauce. But I want the red sauce so hot that I burn my mouth, but I still keep doing it because I'm so fat. That's what I want.
That's fair. What are you drinking?
I'm gonna drink Belvedere vodka on ice, splash of water, and I'd love to have 2 strawberries in it.
Well, if you guys ever come over, I make a mean freaking old fashioned.
I don't do old fashioned. I'm not that classy. I want to be that guy. I want to drink whiskey and scotch and bourbon. It smells like dirty ass feet.
I'll come over, Craig. I'll drink an old fashioned with you.
All right, thanks, Ed.
I like old fashioned. Heck, I go over to Crazy Man's and we drink scotch over at his house.
I want to thank the panel. You guys did great. Good job, Hannum. Good job, Michael. Good job, Crazy Man. Umbol, Groot. Even Sub 60 was fantastic in the back. We'll have Decades Light next Tuesday, and then this is Decades Thunderdome. We'll hopefully get more panelists going on that one. Sub 60, pick the winner. I know who I would pick, and it's an easy pick for me. Actually, I'm just going to pick it, Sub 60.
I was going to pick myself.
No, definitely not.
Michael.
No, actually, I got to give Mike. I got to give Mike as our only progressive on the show tonight.
I would agree. Kudos to Mike.
Very good.
Mike, doing a great job.
Well done.
Good job.
What you guys don't know is you ask me a lot of questions, and I usually just shake this and look at the little answer. So there's really not a lot of science behind it, guys.
That's good.
That's good.
By the way, if our elected officials all had one of these on their desks, it'd probably be better.
Shit, dude.
All right,
guys.
We're out of here.
Next time. Bye.